So here I am on King Street, and I'm riding along, and of course here, this is a taxi waiting zone, so taxis are parked here. So I ride past them, and I stay to the right of the streetcar track, because I don't like driving over that. And I continue on, and the right lane becomes a right turn only lane. So instead of going to the curb, I stay to the left of the right turn only lane. That way, when vehicles need to turn right, they can just whoosh, go down that lane and turn right. I'm pretty much on this yellow line because I plan to go straight through, which, if you can see that sign, says authorized vehicles and bicycles accepted to the no straight through. So it's okay to go straight here. And this lane is a right turn lane. And I stop. Stop like right here at the red light. There's another cyclist that stops at the curb. And as I'm waiting here, this is when a cop pulls up behind me, and I don't hear them because the cyclist has a gas engine kit installed onto their bike, so it's like making a bunch of noise. And then the cop car just like beeps really loud at me. It spooks me because I'm like, whoa, what the fuck is this loud ass sound? And I look over, and there's the cop car. He pulls like kind of into the intersection, and he says, "Hey, you can't do that." And I don't know what he's talking about because I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. So I say, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Hey, what's with the attitude?" I'm like, "Attitude? What? What are you talking about?" He's like, "You're supposed to be to the right, on next to the curb with that other cyclist." And I'm like, "Uh, what?" And he says, "Do you think I don't know the law? Put your bike over there." So I say, okay. And I kind of like roll my eyes as I get off my bike, pick it up, walk it over to the curb, and I'm behind the other cyclist. And he's like, "Do you want a ticket?" And I'm like, "What?" Because, like, I don't think I deserve a ticket for anything. And he's like, "That's it. I think you deserve a ticket." So, and then he says, "Put your bike on the sidewalk." And he drives and he parks into the bike lane over here. So I put my bike onto the sidewalk and I'm like, whoa, what? Is this really happening? Feels like I'm being pranked right now. And he gets out and he's like, man, what does he say? He says, you're supposed to be on the, like, stay as far to the right as possible. And I'm like, but this is a right turn lane. And he basically just keeps saying things like, you think I don't know the law? So since I honestly don't know what he's talking about, I say, I don't know the law. Please tell me what the law is. So then he asks for my ID. So I give him my ID, which I thought about not doing, but like, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like I'm not breaking any laws. So he takes my ID and he goes and he sits in his police cruiser. So this is where I think, oh, I should turn on my GoPro because this is real, I guess. Right now he's in his cruiser there, and he said he was going to write me a ticket, so I assume that's what he's doing. But it takes literally 10 minutes. Like, I have the video. It's 10 minutes long of me just standing here looking around being like, seriously? So part of me is like, is he looking up the law right now? Because he seemed to ask if I didn't think he knew what the law was a lot. So maybe he doesn't know what the law is and he thinks that I'm like trying to argue with him. Like, I'm still in shock right now. I'm like, is this really happening? Anyways, the video's pretty windy, so it's kind of hard to make out what we say to each other. So I have some subtitles where it's like you can kind of hear what you say, what we say to each other, but it's not great. So I'll summarize it for a bit after when the audio gets really bad. But Yeah, literally, I'm just standing here for like 10 minutes until eventually he pokes his head out and he says, Mr. Wong, come over here. So this is the only picture I have of his face. And when I actually do come over here, the helmet cam is on the top of my head, so I can't see his face up close.
What would you like? Would you like the speech or would you like the ticket? It's
Could I have both?
want the ticket.
Well, if you think I deserve it, sure.
What's the attitude?
I don't think I'm giving you attitude.
Maybe you are giving me. What do you think? Police officers.
About the bike lane?
What's that?
It's about the bike lane?
No.
It's not really a main place for us to park, but yeah.
No, it's who's driving.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay, I thought you
Because you're in parking.
So unfortunately, it gets too windy here to hear what this guy is saying, but I'll basically tell you the gist of it. He reads to me, I believe, the ticket that he was going to give me. It's Highway Traffic Act 147. Slow vehicles to travel on right side. Any vehicle traveling upon a roadway at less than normal speed of traffic at that time and place shall, where practicable, be driven in the right-hand lane when available or as close as practical to the right-hand curb or edge of the road. This is signed in at like 1990 or something. The rest of that is kind of thing. There's some exceptions given to this law. Does not apply to the vehicle while overtaking or passing another vehicle proceeding in the same direction, or when the vehicle is preparing for a left turn at an intersection in a private roadway. So, just from Googling around, it seems like this law is more applicable to highway driving, but he's using it on me, which I guess, what are you going to do? He says, what do you think a bicycle can go? Like 20, 30 kilometers? That's slower than regular traffic. Which, I guess so. The 40-kilometer zone is faster than I can go. So I agree with him. But, I don't know. It still feels bad to me because I pointed out to him earlier that there's a right-hand dedicated lane. And when I reference the MTO cycle safety, they have a specific section about this. If you wish to continue straight ahead on a multiple lane intersection with a designated lane for right turns, signal your intention to move to the left lane. Position yourself between the lane reserved for right turns and the one for vehicles continuing straight ahead. Return to the far right side of the lane after going through the intersection. Or, let's reference the Official Ministry of Transportation's Driver's Handbook. They have a specific section here on sharing the road with other road users. You have sharing the road with road cyclists. Bicycles and mopeds traveling at lower speeds than other traffic are expected to ride about 1 meter from the curb or parked cars, or as close as practical to the right-hand edge of the road where there is no curb. However, they can use any part of the lane if necessary for safety, such as to avoid obstacles like puddles, ice, sand, debris, rutted or grooved pavement, potholes, and sewer grates. So, that in itself is like, okay, 1 meter from the curb, that's farther than the curb than that guy was expecting. And also, let's examine the condition of the road. Pothole cover 1, 2, 3. So, what are my options? I'm driving along, or riding along here, past these vehicles. Maybe if I wanted to go to the curb, okay, still have to avoid that sewer grate. Then, manhole cover. It wasn't too wet, but it had been wet recently. So I could argue that this manhole cover is potentially slippery, so I'd want to avoid that and stay to the left. Then another manhole cover. Again, stay to the left since I'm going straight. Then another manhole cover leads me back to exactly where I was. Ugh, God. Unfortunately, some people will never admit that they're wrong. and some of them are police officers. So I kind of clue into this, and I'm just like, okay, yes, I understand now. Thank you for explaining. And he gives me back my license, and I'm like, okay, I'll be on my way. He's like, doing his thing. It just sucks that guy's a police officer, because his question of, do you think I don't know the law, turns out to be, yes, you don't know the law. And I don't know, maybe I'm the kind of person that just argues and like won't admit that they're wrong. But I feel like I'm really not wrong in this case, unless there's specifically something about how I shouldn't have been in that yellow gridded out spot for the streetcar. But I don't know, you know. Kind of wish that I did get the ticket so I could go to court, fight this ticket. Fortunately, because of virus stuff, that might not have been able to happen, but like, frig. And there's kind of nothing you can really do about it now. Because police are pretty much their own gang. That's how I feel about them. They enforce the laws pretty loosely, the ones that they see fit to, and they stand up for each other in a way that is, doesn't matter if the cop is wrong, you gotta have their back, because who knows, you might be in a life-threatening situation and you need the cops to be at your back as a cop. So, yeah, and the organizations that are supposed to keep them in check, that are civilians, well, it turns out they're retired cops.